It was a gorgeous day 4 in New York at the US Open, and spirits were high. That was quickly dashed by the first 2 matches of the day. The match between Jack Draper and Ubi Urkach was clearly one-sided, as Ubi looked pale and weak. The physio was called out, but he stuck with the match, losing in straight sets. A bright side was it was good to see Jack Draper back on court playing well. Then it was off to court 5 for Matteo Berrettini versus Arthur Rinderknecht. For the first set and a half, we had the Rinderknecht who pushed Alcaraz in queens. He was up a set and a half on Berrettini and was playing lights out when Berrettini took a bad fall and had to retire. I needed a palate cleanser after the first 2 matches, so headed off to Louis Armstrong, where Elina Svitolina was putting in a masterclass on how to come back from a set down and win. Ran to catch the 5th set of Arthur Fils versus Matteo Arnaldi, which delivered. Can't wait to see more of Fils in the future. Bobbed around the courts for a bit and finally called it a night at the Open. The hot ticket tomorrow might finally be the day session on Arthur Ashe, but Louis Armstrong is where I'll hang for most of the day.
Ready? Play.
Hey guys, welcome again to the US Open Night Watch that we've been having here the past few days. I think I have been here after about midnight or 1 a.m. every single day of the US Open so far, and this will be no exception. Today is a little different though, because we will be watching like mostly Menšík against Fritz. You know, I will mention other matches naturally, and actually this is a very good opportunity to do so because Rinki Hijikata has just beaten Zhien Zhang, so he's going to be in the 4th round of the US Open, which is pretty crazy, and that also basically secures his top 100 debut. You know, after he won his 3rd round, his 2nd round, I thought it was enough, but like I wasn't 100% sure. Now it's certainly like, yeah, just guaranteed. So now we can officially congratulate Hijikata. Now I can officially say that I did not expect that at all this year, that I also did not expect that at all at this US Open. Yeah, sorry, I have to tweet this out, which I had this pre-written well, like 10 minutes ago, so it should be fine. And anyway, yeah, this certainly wasn't something I expected. He has like this a bit of a yeah, just I called it, I think in the tweet, turbo mode sometimes. That the most recent occurrence I think was not that Hertogenbosch semi, but actually I remember that challenger in Bernie in February when he was just absolutely peaking and playing with so much confidence. And yeah, then in the meantime, of course, his results were not actually all that impressive. But now he finds a US Open round for run, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, kudos to him, of course. He is going to play whom? I have to check that because I can't remember who Zhang was supposed to play. Zhang obviously being the big favorite today. And he's going to play Tiafoe well, so I think that's a very good draw for Frances, not going to lie. Hello, guys. Yeah. And today we are meeting basically to watch Jakub Menšík play Taylor Fritz. Why is this a very exciting match? Menšík, he is turning 18 today. He is obviously an extremely talented prospect. He was the runner-up at the Australian Open back in 2022 in juniors. You might remember that final because he was taken off the court in a wheelchair. He actually couldn't attend the trophy ceremony. He lost there to Bruno Kuzuhara. But you could already see that he had some real potential, mostly because he just had such a big frame for 16 at the time. That would be, or 15? No, 16, right? Yeah, 16 at the time. And then like even as early as that season, he was able to find a challenger run in Prague at the Challenger 50. Also, then at the end of the year, win a few ITFs in a row. And yeah, his development has been so quick. He has since like became really, really aggressive with so much power. But now this U.S. Open, actually, the 5 matches that he's won so far, these were very mature performances, and like he's just using the tools that he has a lot more wisely, I would say. And that's been the key. In the qualifying, he had a very tough sort of 4-player section in the first 2 rounds, having to beat Fabio Fognini, who had recently taken him out in Zug, and also Leandro Riti in the second round, right? Yeah, Leandro Riti in the second round. Then a Kolash in the final match, maybe a little easier. And of course, in the main draw so far, he has also produced 2 4-set wins, one of them against Grégoire Barrère and the latter against Titouan Droguet. So this is the first non-Frenchman, I guess, he's playing in the main draw. And yeah, let's see how he fares against Fritz. Honestly, there are a few ways to think about this. First of all, Menšík, he has never really touched the court, even against a player of this caliber so far. I actually have to check what his highest ranked opponent to date was, but I would say that he has never played a top 50 player. Exactly, yeah. Barrère is his best win, and also he played Zapata Miralles in Yassi this year, taking a set. So you could argue that experience, it's going to be important here, but actually, if you just think about their games, there's really nothing that Menšík has to be like worried about, I think, against Fritz. It's just a question of whether he can, keep up his amazing level at 18 and just keep playing a smart and also just keep executing his game at the highest possible level on a big court here. That's Louis Armstrong, right? Not Arthur Ashe, I think, and against an American as well, and against a top 10 player, which has to be in Menšík's head, at least to an extent. But game-wise, it does not seem like it would be such a difficult matchup for Menšík. I honestly think that they are very evenly talented. There's a part of me that wants to say that Menšík actually has a bit of an edge in like natural ability over Fritz, but of course, Fritz over the years has developed his game so much, and so the experience, at the top level, that also counts for something, 100%. Even if maybe just his like raw potential maybe was a bit lower at some point, but it's definitely arguable, right? And this is the third game of the match already. I would say, pretty even start, nothing that we've learned so far. There was a great point from Menšík to go 15 love up here, and he is firing off the baseline so far, but it hasn't really amounted to much yet. He wins this 15-40 point though. Lots of deep quality hitting down the middle from the Czech as well thus far. Seems like that raw pace on his shots is bothering Fritz a little bit, but of course it's just the third game, so we'll see how the American begins to handle that. On the changeover, I will also talk about the other results, but so far let's see if Fritz finishes the game off. Gonna be a second serve. Hello, Nurlan. Yes, we were expecting you. Or at least the guys were expecting you before I started the stream. Ooh, that's a sloppy miss from Fritz, so it's actually deuce in the third game already. Kirit says that he's going to be watching Striker Bonzi set 5 over Żubencic. I think that's a very sensible choice. That match has been definitely quite thrilling, Striker Bonzi. And by the way, we might have 2 certain top 100 debuts in just a few minutes, basically. Well, maybe just about like 40 minutes, because another player who's currently on the verge of achieving that feat is Dominic Stricker. If he beats Benjamin Bonzi, he will ensure his top 100 debut. And that would be, well, probably a player with more potential than Hijikata, but also someone who, like, for the past 12 months or so, has been constantly like around that ranking range, right? So that would be huge as well. And I think Stricker, he does not have to stop there in this sport. However, he first needs to beat Bonzi, and another 5-setter after beating Tsitsipas. We'll see how that works out for him. There's already a trainer out for Fritz. It's something with his foot, right, it seems. Okay, he has some tape on it next to the fingers, but it seems like, well, are they gonna do something? I'm not sure yet. But yeah, he has some tape on his foot, basically. Yesterday, Maligani Alves retired due to a foot injury. It was some issue with his heel. So hopefully it's not going to be that serious for Taylor. Looks like the physio will perform some sort of treatment after all. Bonzi has another breakpoint in the opening game of the 5th set, so maybe Stricker won't be breaking the top 100 just yet. Mertens Goff have started as well. I am kind of expecting an easy win from Coco there, but this will be such an exciting section, by the way, on the women's side. Goff, Wozniacki, and then Świątek Ostapenko. That's that's pretty ridiculous. All of them, at least Grand Slam finalists. Obviously, Coco the only one without the title, but Świątek, Ostapenko, Wozniacki. Especially with like Goff and Wozniacki basically not existing in the same era. Imagine a match like Świątek Wozniacki as well. That would be huge. Although they played in Toronto 2019, but naturally it still doesn't feel like that's a real matchup. Like, something about this just seems otherworldly. Yes, there's some treatment coming up for Fritz. So obviously in other results today, we had Ben Shelton beating Karatsev fairly comfortably. The big question now is if he's going to handle Tommy Paul, which he didn't at the Australian Open, but it was a pretty tight match. I just think the matchup is pretty good for Paul with the return and the athleticism that he has. I feel like he's going to draw a lot of errors out of Shelton. And also his serve is good enough against Shelton, especially for him to also not struggle on his delivery too much. Tiafoe Manarino may be one, out of the completed matches so far, maybe the best one today, but that's also because Stricker and Bonzi are still going on. But that 4th set was pretty electric from the two guys. And on the women's, we had Świątek just win in like 45 minutes. Yesterday, someone was asking whether I wasn't watching her matches this New York event, and actually I wasn't, to be honest with you. I only saw some of her clash with Savi, and then maybe like next to nothing from her match against Peterson. However, I got to see that one against Juvan today, and yeah, I don't know if it was worth it. It was quite entertaining because she was still like blasting winners left and right, but it was just one of these demolitions where, from the very first game, you knew what was going to happen. But there was a pretty nice one between Muchova and Townsend with lots of all-court games and like variety. Ostapenko produced another comeback from a set down in 3 sets. And of course, Caroline Wozniacki, I sort of mentioned indirectly, but she was pretty impressive as well with still amazing fitness after giving birth twice, and the determination to just track down everything that's necessary. It was a great match against Jim Brady for sure. Stricker and Bonzi. Stricker actually held, so they're still on serve in the 5th set against Bonzi, but of course it's just the second game. Fritz now receiving treatment apparently also on his second, like on his right foot as well. I don't exactly know what's happening, but hopefully it's nothing, and he's going to be back to full mobility really soon. Where is John? Asks Nurlan. John is apparently going to be backstage today, so it's probably going to be just me for Menšík Fritz. I don't think Nurlan is Welsh, but that would be a fun twist. Really stunned how well Vo's playing after a few weeks back, says Kirit. Yeah, absolutely. Did not expect that at all. She was keeping in shape, but that's like one thing, and the other is to actually just keep, so early be able to start executing her game really well. But it was even the case in her first match back, right, against Kimberly Birel. Like I'm not sure we've seen anything new from Wozniacki. Like it's not like the Svitolina comeback where she comes out and like plays more aggressively with more belief. I think Wozniacki is more or less playing the same style that she was before. But she was executing it well from like the very first match after her comeback. So that was, I think, quite a surprise as well. Menšík pretty uneasy. He's already waiting there and hopping before Fritz gets back onto the court. The youngster is excited to play. Oh, and by the way, I did not mention that, but 18. Menšík is turning 18 today, which also adds to this match and like the whole story of it. Obviously, quite a nice way probably to spend your 18th birthday playing against Taylor Fritz on one of the biggest tennis stadiums in the world. I mean, it depends on the scoreline, I suppose, but I think even if he just pushes Fritz close, it's going to be such a good experience for him, and really a nice way to come of age. Sort of, he's still not going to be able to buy alcohol in the United States, but he's going to be able to buy alcohol in the Czech Republic when he returns home. That's definitely the only thing that he's thinking about right now. The possibility to buy alcohol once he's 18. Yes, and also another match on the men's side coming up just right now, because it was after Zhang Hijikata, Borna Gojo playing Iji Vesely, and that is the matchup that will decide the potential opponent for Novak Djokovic if Djokovic beats Jere tonight. Djokovic-Jere is the last match on Arthur Ashe. I'm probably not going to be watching, to be honest. I think I'll just go to bed around that time, but I mean, just because I don't think it's going to be that close, or like even if Jere pushes him close, it's going to be fairly easy for Novak to separate himself at some point. But Gojo against Vesely, like one of these guys maybe could potentially just keep it close with Novak thanks to the serve. Obviously, Vesely would be the big story because Vesely has a 2-0 head-to-head against Novak, beating him in Monte Carlo 2016 and Dubai 2022. But the main question, I guess, would be whether, well, first of all, this doesn't really give him all that much of an advantage, I'd say. And also, there is also that factor of like potential accumulated fatigue, Vesely playing 2 5-setters in a row already. And then another match today coming up with Gojo, which I don't think will be easy for him either. I think Gojo is actually a pretty sizable favorite given just the 2 5-setters for Vesely. It would be pretty unexpected for Vesely to do that again against Djokovic 100%. But yeah, that would be the bigger story than Gojo Djokovic since. Question number 1. Do you think if Brady and Wozniacki still stay healthy fully next year, they will finish the year inside the top 10? I'm going to say no in both cases, but like I think from their level so far in these, how many events they played, like 3 or 4 events, I think it's pretty clear that they could return to like a top 30, top 20-ish level. Is the top 10 possible? Yes. I'm just going to say it's like somewhat unlikely, but I would say it's less than 50% for either of them, but they've definitely shown that they can return to like a top 30, top 20 level. Yeah, 100%. So I guess top 10 is possible too. That's a pretty great point. It felt like Menšík's drop shot was gonna be good enough. Fritz barely catches it, but he actually puts it into the very, very corner of the court. Menšík probably waiting for it to fall out. He actually had to play the shot and got to. He managed a decent lob, and Fritz's smash certainly wasn't perfect, but Menšík does not make the pass. So 15-30 in the fourth game. The American with a really great sprint here towards the net. Menšík's movement has been pretty excellent this week so far too, and you can see it in these baseline rallies when like Fritz is pushing him to the corners and he's very quick to respond with the counters. But it's actually the American now who finds the line on this forehand cross court. I think this was another one where Menšík was just expecting it to go out, and it actually didn't. Really ramping up the pace on this shot, Fritz, and he gets the reward in the 2 break points that we're gonna see right now. Of course, there is this possibility with this match that Menšík will just not be ready for it, and then the match ends after like 2 hours. It is a possibility, and we're gonna see if the Czech youngster is ready to handle this sort of pressure, this sort of opportunity. So far, so good for Fritz, but I would say 3-1, the 3-1 lead that he has right now. It is a little harsh to Menšík. Like he has not started poorly, but we'll see if that's going to be enough. The medical timeout was Fritz on his feet. Where do I watch the game? We cannot really give you like a stream or show a stream on here because we would be banned on YouTube. There's definitely like providers in all around the world showing that in your country, I guess. So you have to just find out who that is to watch a legal version of this match. But yeah, it was Fritz who asked for the medical timeout. So far, it doesn't seem to be impacting his movement. He had some tape on his right foot. Then he also had some treatment on his left, apparently. But yeah, so far, definitely not impacting him. Menšík with a little bit of impatience here. Had Fritz on the ropes with the forehand inside out, and then just tries to go for a bit too much on the next shot. So Fritz looking good for the 4-1 lead. If he just wins 2 more points in this game. Is that return in? I think so. But Menšík will not be winning this point either. So 40 love Fritz, and after just 20 minutes and change, he can get into a 4-1 lead. Ooh, a bit wild on this +1 forehand, but obviously at 40 love it's not impossible. It's not really all that important for him to make that shot. He's gonna be fine regardless. Dominic Stricker has also opened up a break lead in the 5th, so we could be beginning the festivities in a few minutes of Dominic Stricker breaking the top 100 as well. I can't really say that it would be 2 top 100 debuts on one day because, as I said, I think Hijikata would have been fine with a round 3 appearance as well. But yeah, it looks like the US Open is about to give us at least 3 top 100 debuts. And with that, I'm of course talking about Borna Gojo, Dominic Stricker, and Rinki Hijikata. Gojo and Hijikata already secured, and Stricker has to win against Bonzi today, but he is about to go 4-1 up on the Frenchman if he just clinches one of the next 2 points on serve. And he does, which means that Stricker is now 2 games away and has a 4-1 lead, of course. Mertens Goff so far tied at 2-all in the opener, and also Goyo and Vesely have started. That's quite a big serving battle. We're gonna see who's better in that. I would be assuming that it's likely going to be Goyo just because of these 2 consecutive 5-setters that Vesely played. I'm just not sure if he has it in himself to survive another physical battle. But of course, then again, against Borna Goyo, it's not like the rallies will be exhausting, right? It's mostly gonna be the serving that will be important. So. And of course, I don't know if I mentioned it, but Fritz did clinch that 4-1 lead. I mean, the way Xinyu Wang is playing right now, I think she is a reasonable, top 30 prospects in the future or something. The way she's been hitting since what was the event that she won? Landisville, the ITF that she won probably, and then of course Cleveland, and now the first 3 rounds when she's actually playing with that sort of confidence. Yeah, she is quite dangerous, definitely. Just sort of yeah, I honestly don't know how she's gonna fare against Muchova, but if it really feels like her run would be very legitimate if she manages to, at least push the check or, especially win it. But that would sort of confirm her run, which I think so far has been really good, and clearly she is. Yeah, just she just has a lot of belief in her game right now, which she should. Um, I think she definitely is a talented ball striker, and even compared to the other Wang from China, I think she obviously doesn't have that tricky leftiness, but she's a pretty dynamic ball striker for sure, and I just wonder how she's gonna do against Muchova. She could use a big match on a stage with a sort of experienced competitor, also someone who has a lot of a very wide repertoire and lots of tennis IQ. Last time she played someone like that, someone of this class, so Świątek at Roland Garros, she lost without winning a game. Don't think this will be the case this time against Muchova. But I think one could really use a nice result in that match at least. At least the feeling that she was close to Muchova. What the MTO was for Zhang tonight, it was his back. Well, yeah, Lewis, Fritz winning this match pretty easily is certainly one of the more likely outcomes. We are sort of hoping for Menšík to maybe just ease into the match a little bit, given it's his first time on a stage like this and also against a player of this caliber. So far, it has not really worked out for him, but I think it's probably not going to look like this for the whole match. Like, I would say he will keep at least one set close. We'll see if he actually manages to snatch that one though. There's a great long baseline rally here. Eventually, Fritz gets this loopier, more spin-heavy forehand deep into Menšík's forehand and gets the short ball out of it, and it's very clinical as well on the down the line kill shot. I wouldn't even say it was that short. It didn't really have to be an outright winner attempt, but Fritz, yeah, just his baselining so far has been pretty excellent, and he will go 5-1 up as well. Very good disguise on this forehand drop shot. So far, the match obviously not delivering, but well, obviously not delivering. I think the quality of play has been good. It's not competitive so far, at least in terms of the scoreboard. And Dominic Sticker, I think, had a minor chance to even go 5-1 up when he was 15-30 up in Bonzi's return game. but he's actually 4-2 up now. So yeah, still 2 holds away from winning the match and breaking the top 100. Of course, that's top 100. These top 100 debuts for Goyo, Hijikata, and Striker will come after the US Open, which is when the next edition of the ATP rankings will be released. I have to say that it makes it a lot tougher to calculate whether someone's top 100 debut in the live rankings is actually final or not, whether something can still happen, and whether it's mathematically secured. However, I think in all three cases, we can already say with full certainty that even with maybe some other players succeeding at the US Open, or all the challenger points that are going to come in the second week of the US Open, because we have 6 challenger tour events coming up next week. I think we can say with absolute certainty about all 3 of these: Goyo, Hijikata, Striker. If Striker wins today, that is, of course, that's their top 100 debuts are actually secured. Yeah. Fritz goes into a fairly love lead in the 7th game of the match as well, so looking to end the opener pretty quickly. Menšík would then start the second set on serve, so maybe that's some sort of a light in the tunnel, the opportunity for him to win that first game, and then maybe play a bit more freely on the Americans' delivery from that point onwards. Do I seriously think that Menšík has a shot against Fritz? Well, after the opening set, I think my expectations are more or less the same. That this can happen. Fritz definitely, of course, a very seasoned competitor, and it's just a matter of whether Menšík recovers from this or not. That's a hilarious volley exchange, and Fritz eventually wins this, and there's a big reaction, more or less the same kind of that Kaja Juvan did when she won a game against Świątek today. Some good flexibility there from the Czech youngster, and the reaction on one of the last volleys that he played, but it's still Fritz who emerges the victor here, and 40-15. So 2 set points for the American after just 30-ish minutes. I cannot see it right now, but deep return down the middle from Menšík, though, gives him one of the points. Striker 5-2 up, so very, very close to that incredible achievement. And Taylor Fritz fires a good serve down the middle at the body to get the first set, 6-1. Yeah, no, I mean the big thing now is the recovery, right? If Menšík is able to hold, I don't know, his first 3 service games of the set, we might still see fireworks. We might still see a good match, but if he's unable to do that, if he gets broken instantly, it kinda will go into like territory of, yeah, where we're gonna be wondering if that tight set between the two is even gonna come. So yeah, quite vital for the Czech youngster to now pick up a few games. Is Ostapenko the toughest possible matchup for Iga, considering Iga's lack of ability to absorb pressure and react to fast returns combined with Ostapenko's power? Ostapenko is one of the toughest matchups on tour for Iga, I would say. Who else? Well, Garcia, Rybakina, these players, yeah, like serve return bots. Ostapenko probably not really a serve bot, but yeah, that insane power so far has been very troubling for Iga whenever they played. If I remember correctly, they have not played since that Dubai win last year, right? So you could assume that it's gonna be a bit better for Iga now, but I think still like the chances of Ostapenko are definitely there if she can just come out and play her best, because that's what she can do against everyone, right? And yeah, that insane power can actually get the racket out of Świątek's hands, because I think it's pretty clear, like for the most part, there are just a few players who can beat Świątek playing great defense, right? I don't know. I mean, Goff did it recently, but was it? Well, Pegula did it recently to an extent as well, but was it them, or was it actually Świątek just having some weaker matches and moments? Well, basically not playing her best throughout the whole Canada Cincy double. The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, right? Like usual. And I think it's much easier for a player to beat Świątek by just coming out and redlining, which is something that Ostapenko certainly can do. I think she is among the toughest. I don't know if the toughest, but among the toughest. And still, it could be a match that Świątek wins, dropping 2 games. Yeah, right? It could be just we enter this match on Sunday. Will it be Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. And it could be that we enter this match with like expectations, and then Ostapenko just comes out and has a terrible day at the office. It is possible. So I think any scoreline from 6-love 6-1 Świątek to, let's say, 6-4 6-4 Ostapenko is possible. Ostapenko is not going to win this, winning losing 2 games or something. Świątek can, if Ostapenko is just going to be very wild on the day. But yeah, it is pretty tricky. It's a matchup where you are really praying for Ostapenko to have a bad day at the office, because otherwise it gets tricky. But if Świątek is to win the US Open again, there's going to be a few of these matches that are potentially going to be tricky for her, and this would be the first one of them probably. And the quarters also, right now it kind of looks like they could have an opponent. She could have an opponent there that's reasonably tough for her to play against, at least right now, and in these conditions. So yeah, it should be a pretty exciting show, unless Ostapenko is just missing everything by 2 meters. Penko is too inconsistent, yes, absolutely, but yeah, if she just comes out, has her has that one of her best days. The 3-0 head-to-head depends how you look at it, because certainly that these first 2 matches, Indian Wells 2021, Birmingham 2019, that was way long before Świątek became like a top player, right? Okay, now I have to tweet about Dominic Stricker. I also have that pre-written. I did that like half an hour ago. Pretty wild that he also saved 2 match points in qualifying round 2 against Pablo Llamas Ruiz, right? All right, and by the way, Jakub Menšík has won the opening game of the match. Did he? Oh, he hasn't actually. I'm sorry. It's back to deuce. He is at 40-love. I started putting out that tweet about Stricker, which is already done, by the way. And then I decided, then I just thought that he already won, but it's back to deuce. So as we said earlier, it would be extremely important for him to clinch that. That's a good volley. I was afraid after that approach shot, because he just played it a bit too right into Fritz's comfort zone, and then had to come up with this tough volley from below the net. But he manages to do that, so another game point for Menšík here. Great forehand cross-court from the Czech, but will he clinch this? Yes, pretty smart shot as well, but I think even playing it into the open court would have been good too, but this against the legs backhand was still fine. And yeah, he manages to get that one game. So I guess he'll be trying to be a bit more free in these Fritz service games now, as long as he is holding himself, and try to just try to maybe piece a few aggressive points together and look for a break. He also has some tape on the right arm, which was also there in his previous match, I think, and we can see that he is stretching it a bit on the replay. So let's see how serious that is as well. As you probably saw at the beginning of the stream, actually you saw the day 4 recap from Anastasia on the at the beginning of the screen, but she's also in the stadium now for at Louis Armstrong, watching Menšík Fritz. So it will be exciting to hear later what she had to say about this match in the little recap video that she has been putting up for us. And yeah, I'm glad that she is having so much fun discovering Jakub Menšík, because apparently she also tweeted about that. Lots of people are probably, lots of people are probably looking at Jakub Menšík for the first time this week, and he is bound to stay in their memories, and for a while, and likely soon he will be a more regular presence in main tour events, but we'll see. Yeah, a friend of mine was texting me about that Fritz medical timeout and like the huge chance of getting a Menšík streaker match in the fourth round, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it's impacting Fritz so far. Probably just some sort of blister related issues, and then yeah, he's definitely moving well. So yeah, we've just had 2 confirmed top 100 debuts. Pretty exciting. Menšík would not be a top 100 debut, by the way, if he won that much. But let me actually see where he is in the live rankings, how much this run helps him already. So yeah, he is probably going to break the top 150 or like be around that group. One more win would put him at maybe about 120. So I think he would have to score 2 more wins to break the top 100. So that seems a little outlandish at the moment. And as we said earlier, quite vital for him to keep holding in this set, because it really feels like once Fritz will develop a stronger lead, he will not let it go. And that's some fantastic defense from the American. And eventually, Menšík just goes for a bit too much on the forehand. He had this point one, but then Fritz saved himself with that lob, and quite a sloppy error after that from the 18-year-old Czech. Well, I was about to say 17-year-old. Obviously, I don't know at which hour of the day Jakub Menšík was born, but it was certainly before the hour that he's playing at in New York right now, because he was, of course, in the Czech Republic at the time. So that would put him at almost 2 a.m. now in his home country. So he is for sure 18 already. Has Fritz missed that? I think so. There was a bit of a forehand cross-court rally, and it's Fritz who makes the error first, although it was really, really tight. We even see the close call on the screen. Another big serve from the Czech, so he's back to 30 all. A net cord, but the point actually is continued. And Fritz now with the down the line, down the middle forehand miss. He is helping Menšík here a bit, so the 18-year-old should have no regrets and just take it. In the opening set, of course, these errors from Fritz were not really coming in all that often, so. And another big serve gives Menšík the third game, so the plan minimum, holding his serve 2 times in a row is already done. And now another opportunity to look for a break on the Fritz delivery. Let's see what else is going on. Goya Vesely tied at 3-all so far. We are not expecting too many breaks there, obviously. And Elise Mertens actually with 2 set points on Coco Gauff. 6-3 now. Anyone watching that? Elise Mertens beating Coco Gauff so far, 6-3 in the opening set. I see Wozniacki beating Coco, and if Iga beats Ostapenko, how Świątek versus Wozniacki looks in your opinion? I think it's fairly similar to Świątek against Saville, She will probably struggle a little bit just because Wozniacki is like probably the best version of this sort of player, a very crafty defender. But I don't think it's a matchup that Świątek will be losing most of the time. And I would expect her power to be a bit too much. I think that's my expectation. It kind of depends on her timing as well, because the way she played in Canada Cincy, she was actually vulnerable to someone like Goff, at least so far, even with the opposition being pretty weak. It seems like Świątek is just hitting a lot better though in New York. So I would expect Wozniacki to like win some games of her, frustrate her into some errors, but probably not win. But it would be a very exciting matchup. They obviously played in Toronto 2019, and Świątek won that one in 3 sets, but that was such a long while ago. Especially for Świątek, the past 4 years have been, a period of extreme change. But even Wozniacki, right? I mean, 2019, she was still an active tennis player. And not yet a mother, whereas right now she has 2 kids. I don't know if that actually matters, because she seems to be in fantastic physical shape after her comeback. But yeah, just basically what I'm trying to say is that the 2019 matchup does not, the match between them in 2019 does not matter all that much to me. But yeah, I just think this sort of game, like the style that Wozniacki has, it's usually good in order to push Iga for a few games, but it's kind of tricky to beat her like this unless she has a poor day at the office, which can happen. So far she hasn't really missed a step, but also the opposition has not been that strong. Maybe a small opportunity for Menšík here. Love 15 second serve. He will be kind of desperate to do something out of it. Withstanding the Fritz power, and now was his turn to attack, but he nets that forehand inside out. Menšík has definitely been great this week with just moving on the defense, playing a bit safer than usual, coming up with great passes too. And now that sort of approach gave him that forehand inside out, where he had the moment where he could really take control of the rally, and he did not do that well on it. It was a bit of a middle of the net miss rather than something really close. But the game is not done yet. He cannot absorb the power of this Fritz forehand though. Yeah, and that's just a bit too wild again. Was trying to counter this Fritz forehand down the middle very quickly. So, sort of step into it and yeah. Ends up giving Fritz a few free points in this game as well. So I guess fairly similar to the previous one. We had Fritz helping out Menšík a little bit. Now we have Menšík returning the favor. And we are back to level in the second set. That's a big return from Fritz now. Will he be able to put Menšík under pressure again? Yeah, if you see me making some weird motions with my face, that's because I have a very uncomfortable mouth ulcer, I guess. I guess that's how it's called. And yeah, it's just in a pretty uncomfortable spot, and sometimes I have to navigate the pain a little bit. But anyway, that's another good return 1-2 punch from Fritz. Fifth forehand winner of the match. Only one for Menšík so far, which is definitely a bit less than we would usually expect from him at this stage of match. He makes up for it though. That's a fantastic counter cross court. Lots of power in that one, and he is back to 15-30. Yeah, Fritz has been a bit brutal with these combinations, you know. Second serve return from Menšík, and he's already quick. Second serve from Menšík, and Fritz is already quick to take advantage. This time it wasn't like a 1-2 punch, but he just managed to follow that second shot or third shot, if we're talking about the whole rally, to follow it up to the net and then finish it off with a beautiful volley. So this was also a great return from Fritz, but he is on the back foot. Slice approach from Menšík, and yeah, this was just a bit too tough. That slice approach seemed pretty good, but then Fritz came up with this inventive little push over the net with the backhand, and yeah, the half volley that Menšík was trying to attempt was certainly not going to be a high percentage shot. Yeah, I agree that a lot of head-to-heads from years ago are irrelevant. I think people very often take a look at them and they're like, "Wow, so this guy beat someone in 2007. This guy beat someone in 2017, right?" And that means he has to beat them again. A very recent example that I have in mind is Pedro Cachin playing Albert Ramos Vignolas in what was it? Gstaad recently, right? And oh no, it wasn't Ramos Vignolas. Sorry, it was Kachin playing Jaume Munar in the quarterfinals of that event. And Munar basically had a 0-6. Munar had a 6-0 record against Kachin, but almost all of these matches were like 2017, 16, 15, even 21. And honestly, it just didn't matter at all because Kacin has become like a completely new player when he made that final in Marbella in 2022, when he beat Team in the opening round famously, Team's first match after the wrist injury. So yeah, like for some of these players, it doesn't really matter where you were 2 years ago, especially when we're talking about either players who are at the end of their careers or at the beginning. And of course, with Wozniacki and Świątek, we have a bit of both. Max wishes, yeah, I think you also said this yesterday, right? About wishing to have watched more challengers of Menšík prior to the US Open. But no harm. I think there's no harm because, well, Menšík will still be playing a few challengers in the US Open after the US Open for sure. He will unless he wins the next two matches. He's not gonna get himself to a ranking that will allow him to do that. Menšík was actually supposed to play a challenger in the second week of the US Open in Istanbul, but he has already withdrawn from that. And then he's not signed up for anything in the next few weeks. So we'll see what his next plans will be. Istanbul, he has already withdrawn from next week. Sun Woo Kwon currently supposed to be the first seed in that event. Do you think Pegula has the most underrated forehand in WTA roster? I mean, she has a serious power, but everybody considers her just a solid player. Yeah, I know she has this reputation, whereas actually she is really good in like fast-paced sort of um, laser pace baseline rallies, which is interesting. I think a lot of that forehand power comes from um, playing with what the opponent gives her, though. But she does have a pretty good forehand. Is it the most underrated in the WTA? Um, I don't know. I would have to look at the ranking list and like think of that. But yeah, I would definitely agree with the fact that she is far more than just a solid player. But because she does not have this like one overwhelming weapon, I think she is very often just put into this category because people don't really know how to describe her game easily, which I get. It's not that obvious really. So. But yeah, she does get tagged as a solid player a lot too much, for sure. I don't know, maybe like the forehands, something that just comes to mind. Maybe the forehands of like Tamara Zidansek or Mayer Sherif, but that's both like they are both pretty much useless outside of clay, right? The forehands of theirs, because it's such extreme grips and just the strokes are built in a way where it's very easy to get a lot of topspin on it, but you also need time. Um, Perhaps there's also like some sort of more hardcore oriented examples, but these are the two players that came to my mind right now in terms of like underrated forehands. Maybe Bernarda Pera as well, but another clay court one. I don't know why I'm only looking at these, but that's what it seems to me. Oh, Gret Minen, actually. She's still in the French, right? Sorry, in the US Open, right? She's playing Daria Kasatkina. Gret Minen, I would say that's a good candidate as well for one of the most underrated forehands on the WTA Tour. It's a really, it reminds me a lot of like male technique too. I'm not exactly sure of whom. I cannot really give you a name of a player, but I think the way she moves into it, it's a stroke that you would usually see in the male game, like where people run around their backhands very dynamically and sort of don't even stop while seeking that forehand. They hit it and instantly move forward. That's the sort of play that Hietminen is super familiar with, and I would say her forehand technique is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, Coco in trouble, as we said. That's hilarious, guys. Emma Navarro forehand underrated. That's interesting too. Yeah. Well, that's not a bad selection either. I think Emma Navarro might generally be underrated too. Oh, so are some of the players that I mentioned for sure as well. Pera, Hretminen. Yeah, nothing is easy so far for Menšík, unfortunately. So this match is not yet delivering in terms of the scoreboard for sure, and we just had a pretty tame miss on the +1 forehand at 2-4, 30-15 up. Another lob from Fritz, saving himself, and then he finds the backhand down the line. Whatever we can say about like Menšík, probably not being as clinical as he was so far. This has been quite a showing from Fritz as well. He had that little medical timeout, right? And since then, he basically there's nothing really that you can criticize him for. I mean, he's getting some incredible gets. He has some incredible gets on the return, and also just defensive lobs out of nowhere. He is surviving in these sort of points, and then Menšík is unable to just clinch them, unable to take advantage. Then Fritz comes back with a great counter, or maybe it's just Fritz ramping up the pace on the forehand of the ground. He's moving well to these droppers from Menšík too, and he wins another point like this. Yeah, so far just giving Menšík a bit of a lesson for sure. Which, by the way, is not like discouraging or something when it comes to the young prodigy. There's really, it's really a learning experience, I think, first and foremost, because, sorry, will he take that point? No, he can't. He had this smash and he just played it straight at Taylor, and then wasn't able to handle the volley. But yeah, what I was about to say basically is that this is first and foremost a learning experience for Menšík, because I think getting through Barrer and Droge was like what he had to do, sort of like what he really, really wanted to do. And then against Fritz, like anything here is a bonus. So far, that bonus is maybe not instantly giving him like huge rewards, right? But maybe it's gonna give him something in the future. The impact of this could be, of course, much deeper than we could really think about. That we could really be able to assess, I would say. Just replying to someone's tweet about Striker. Someone is asking basically how does Striker only have one ATP Tour level main draw win this season? Whether he was dealing with some sort of an injury. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a question that everyone is asking to themselves when it comes to Striker. Why is he not achieving better results than he is? Of course, right now that has changed for sure with this event. The narrative has changed, and also with the top 100 debut. And also, he had two ATP Tour level major wins before the US Open. Of course, beating Popyrin at Wimbledon and also Fils in Gstaad. But yeah, in Gstaad, he already had a chance to break the top 100 if he beat Kecmanovic in the second round. He didn't, and then soon he dropped 125 points for Zug, a challenger in Switzerland on synthetic clay. But of course, that doesn't really matter right now. Fritz with a great drop shot to get 3 set points in the second set. I like how Nurlan is really going along with these this meme that originated yesterday and almost maybe 2 days ago, and absolutely Nurlan is the man, the star of the show, the man / the star of the show. Yes. And it's good to see Ghosty as well helping us out here. And apparently John Silk is Zhang Zhizhen. That would finally solve us the riddle of John Silk's age, because Zhizhen Zhang or Zhang Zhizhen is 26 and about to turn 27 in October. However, I believe that Zhang Zhizhen was not watching Wimbledon in the 90s when Boris Becker was winning it, or in the 80s, actually. So something does not work in that theory. But don't worry, many conspiracy theories actually suck and don't work. So yeah, in other news, Coco Gauff is up a break in the second set on Elise Mertens. But it's still quite early to tell whether she will actually be turning this match around or not. We also have Borna Gojo and Iji Veseli, you guessed it, still on serve, because why not? But Iji Veseli had to save 3 breakpoints at 3-4 down. Also, Gojo still has not dropped a single point on his first serve, 19 out of 19. And I think he's been like that, like in the past 3 matches that he played, Well, against McDonald, his accuracy dropped eventually to 70%, but I think there was a moment in one of the sets when he was barely dropping points. But against Delian, he was certainly at like 83%. And against Mahaj, I think he was at like around 90 even for the most part in that match. Yeah, 94% on first serve points won. Obviously an incredible server that no one really has to be convinced of that. But yeah, so far also he is putting Vesely into more trouble than he has had to endure. And he has 2 set points now, Borna Gojo. In fact, as I think Menšík is off the court still, I will quickly turn over to that match and see whether Gojo is able to take these points, to take these set points. Because why not? And also we have Lin Zhu on the court against Belinda Bencic, but that has like barely started. So Vesely has saved that first set point, the 4th break point that he has faced in the entire match. A friend of mine on Twitter just said like half an hour ago that Borna Gojo now looks exactly like Moreno de Alboran, which I think is very true. I saw a photo of Borna Gojo a couple of days back, and I was certain it was Moreno de Alboran before I saw the caption. But that's because of the bleached hair, by the way, in case someone is unsure. I'm actually not sure if Moreno de Alboran even has bleached hair anymore, but he did for a while. Vesely with a +1 forehand that could have been just maybe a little bit ballsier. He was trying to surprise Goyo, wrong foot him, but it didn't work. So now it's Goyo just trying to survive in this baseline rally and hope for a Vesely error. Let's see if it comes. It does, in the form of a backhand crosscourt that goes wide. So Borna takes the first set, and that's not good news for Vesely, especially coming off 2 consecutive 5-setters, because, as we said earlier, he might be in trouble if this match is long. What hasn't been long so far is Menšík against Fritz. 1 hour and 9 minutes. The Czech still hasn't returned, I think, from the toilet break. But we'll see whether he is there pretty soon. And that's Menšík now back onto the court. As he lost the second set to 6, it's going to be him serving first again. So that's definitely a better scenario for him in this sort of a match. And now, does the goal for Menšík become to sort of keep a set tight and then see what happens? I think so. Hold a few times and sort of take whatever comes at you, and maybe it would be good for Menšík to like at least play one tight set here with Fritz. Still very possible that there will be 3 American males in the in the bottom half quarterfinals, because Tiafoe and Paul are on track to meet each other. I would say Tiafoe is very, very likely to beat Hijikata, and also obviously Paul Shelton. Like, that's gonna give us an American in the quarterfinals anyway, and then Fritz would play Stricker. Maybe a bit tricky, but Stricker is coming off 2 consecutive 5-setters as well, and like Fritz has been winning his matches so quickly that I would say Fritz would be a significant favorite. And of course, the only quarterfinalist then in that bottom half that wouldn't be American would very likely be Novak Djokovic. Yeah, and love 30. Menšík in trouble instantly on serve. That drop shot should work though. Yes, I think Taylor did not get to it before the second bounce. The previous 2 that he played, I think Fritz just chased down and then still won the points. But here the moment was significantly better. I think Fritz was really on the back foot there, 2 meters behind the baseline, also just maybe moving his center of gravity a bit towards the back, and yeah, just had a rough time starting to this shot. Yeah, it certainly does not feel like the ball coming off Menšík's racket is that much weaker than Fritz's, but yeah, the American is honestly playing some sensational tennis, and that backhand crosscourt rally right now, Menšík plays just one weaker shot, one shot that is just a bit higher, just a bit more safe, and Fritz is instantly there to kill the backhand crosscourt for a winner. So 2 breakpoints for the American already. This could be a pretty short stream, but well, that's not something we can truly control. And there's a double fault from Menšík to give Fritz the lead of 2 sets and a break. I think he should. Yeah, I don't think I saw what you were showing earlier. So, are you saying Bornagoyo? Yes, I'm saying Bornagoyo, but in what, in which context that was, I'm not really sure. What do you think Taylor Townsend's upper bound limit ceiling is? Isn't it about where she is right now? No, no, no. Of course, not in the rankings realistically, but like, yeah, I think right now is probably some of the best tennis that she's ever played. Right? She has a pretty unique style. Could definitely be like among the top 100 in singles easily. But will she ever focus on it that much? She has a fantastic doubles career as well. With the, I think she's currently at number 5. Yeah, I'm just not sure she's ever going to achieve something monumental in this sport. However, on the singles side at least, however, she's definitely going to be an interesting player to follow whenever she plays like a top seed in the early rounds, or just always one of the dark horse contenders potentially if she gets a nice draw. But I don't know. I don't feel like she is ever going to be like in the top 30 or something. A career high of 61 is maybe a little disappointing, but it's probably not gonna be that much higher, I think. Unless if she ever actually does it, right? But certainly a very skillful competitor, no doubt. You're on a lifeboat with Maroshan and Menšík, slowly sinking. Who do you toss overboard? I have not talked to Menšík. I watched him live, but he lost the match, so I didn't interview him or anything. I have interviewed Fabian Maroshan a few times, so a part of me wants to say Maroshan because I kind of got to know him well, at least a bit personally, and he was very nice for sure. But then again, if I'm like thinking about their potential, I would assume that Menšík is the one who has the higher um, sort of worth in this regard. Menšík is also 18, and Fabian Maroshan is 23 or 4, or something like that, right? Maroshan is from my birth year, I think. So he is about to turn 24. Yes, he is about to turn 24 in a month. So I think it would make more sense to actually save Menšík. Yeah. Also, Jakub Menšík has an award in his under his belt. Let's say he has something in his trophy cabinet that Fabian Maroshan, I don't know if he'll ever win it, and that is the Jakub Bobro Player of the Week award that we had on on this Mondays, maybe. No, it was Sundays ATP Weekly, was it? The one I did with Tom. So yeah, he has the Jakub Bobro Player of the Week award. So I think that's why and it's a talking tennis special. So I think that's why we have to save Jakub Menšík. Although it would hurt, it would be a decision where certainly getting rid of Fabian Maroshan in such a way would not be fitting for this sort of player, and a nice person too. Mertens back on serve with Goff and 3-2 up, so I think this is one that I might have to start watching after Menšík and Fritz are done. Kirit also tells us that Zhu's hitting is incredible right now. She is also on serve with Belinda Bencic. Looks like Vesely is falling into all sorts of trouble as well against Goyo so far, struggling with him in another service game at the beginning of the second set. So yeah, maybe he's just way too tired at this point. Menšík love to down in the third. That was some fantastic shot making from the Czech, but he still does not win the point. That forehand counter on the slide was pretty beautiful, and then Fritz eventually saves himself with like a squash shot that ended up being a drop shot in a way too, and Menšík slides to it, but then nets it. 15-30 down, and yeah, this match might be over very soon. Menšík has not been able to win his service games all that comfortably today, and this is certainly making a big difference. And off the ground, it's also been Fritz who just is more dynamic, hitting. I don't know if bigger, but he's certainly varying. Yeah, he's varying his forehand quite a lot, with sometimes putting more spin on it and then trying to flatten it out, or just pushing Menšík deep into the forehand corner to find the down the line shot later. Menšík, on the other hand, is like sort of happy playing on Fritz's pace, and it's just not been enough. Whenever he has had an opportunity to create something himself, he has struggled, which is like not really how he usually plays, you know. Usually he's the aggressor, but maybe it's the big stage fright, or maybe it's just, you know, Fritz being just a bit too good, a bit too experienced, a bit too seasoned for him so far. And this is another one of these moments where, yeah, Menšík just has a huge opportunity with the forehand and nets it. So another like shot, another point where Menšík had the control over the rally. He did well to get it as well, and then just messes up that final blow. Yeah, rough. Well, Alberto, at this point, it's gonna be very hard for Menšík to win a set. When you were asking, it was probably love to down in the third, and at that point, it was also going to be hard for Menšík to win a set. Which is a shame that this match looks as it is, but you know, that's the sort of losses that you need to take as a young player, and eventually, in a couple of years, maybe we get a rematch and maybe this is a different story. But for now, it just seems like a loss that Jakub Menšík will have to take on his chin and sort of, wake up tomorrow and get back to the training courts, get back to the hard work that he is constantly putting in order to become as good in this sport as he can. Yeah, so a double break up in the deciding, in the third set now, Taylor Fritz. So this match has definitely lost a bit of its excitement. Not really a bit of it. Right now, it's more of a game of whether Menšík can still win, be on the board at least in this third set, for which I think the fifth game is looking like it will be vital. It will be key in order for him to not get bageled here. But also, speaking of Fritz so far, I think we can sort of go into like big picture themes already. I don't think he's losing this much from this spot at least. And we have to say that this is already his best showing at the US Open, because he actually had not progressed past the third round before. He made the third round in 2018, losing to Dominic Thiem in 4 sets, and also the third round in 2020, losing to Denis Shapovalov in 5 sets. Shapovalov famously a bit of a tricky matchup for him, although this year he beat him twice, but before that it used to be 6-2 Shapovalov, or 5-2 Shapovalov, I think. 5-2 Shapovalov. And Fritz hasn't been into the second week at New York, and also his performances at the slams recently have been quite drastic. So barely dropping games in the first 3 matches is a wonderful achievement for him already, I think. And Johnson only took 5 games. Varias also took 5 games. In order for the story to be exactly the same, Menšík could lose 6-2 here, because this would actually be pretty wild, because against Johnson, Fritz won 6-2, 6-1, 6-2. Against Varias, he won 6-1, 6-2, 6-2. And then there's a chance that he just repeats this here, 6-1, 6-2, 6-2. And then it would basically be the same scorelines in the first 3 rounds. But that requires Menšík to hold in the next game, because Fritz has another lightning fast serve service game to his name. And so far in the third set, Menšík has only won 4 points, winning exactly 1 in every game. Just 6 winners today from the Czechs racket as well. 1 was an ace, and 5 were just, other shots. And certainly, he just hasn't been that good on the attack at all. I wonder how Menšík would have looked against Musetti then, because at the beginning of the US Open, like when we saw the draw, I remember saying that I thought Musetti was a pretty nice opponent for him, and I would like his chances against Lorenzo. But then Fritz may be a bit too strong. Like, it looks like Fritz is a lot too strong for the Czech. And of course, Menšík eventually did not have to play Musetti, so Nurdan has a crush on Xinyu Wang, also on Buskova, right? Or is Buskova just about her game? Maybe Xinyu Wang is about her looks as well. And this is another one of these, like, Menšík just has a mid-court forehand that usually he just takes some of these in his sleep, and today nothing is working for him, like on the attack. Like, he just has a number of these and cannot land them. Yeah, and another double fault. He has not handled the occasion too well, and that's a bit of a shame. But it is what it is. As I said earlier, youngsters tend to have this sort of a loss, or actually many of them, before they finally find their game. Tense moments for Goff for sure. And Zhubencic as well, still on serve, and Goya Vesely likewise. 2 matches that have not started yet are, of course, the last encounters that we're going to get on Louis Armstrong and Arthur Ashe. So Elena Rybakina, Sorana Kirstea, and Laszlo Djere, Novak Djokovic. And Taylor Fritz is about to serve for the match at 5-0 in the third set. Quite a brutal scoreline. That I did not expect. I actually thought that was going to be a fairly close match, I don't know, 3 sets with a tiebreak, 4 sets with Yeah, with Menšík snatching one, why not? That is probably out. So yeah, now the pace from Menšík finally draws an error from Fritz, but that has not been all that common in this match so far. Definitely not. Yeah, whenever the youngster is trying to just up the pace a bit more, it just has not been working out for him. And I think he's still on like what, 5 winners today. I don't think there's all that much that I can say really. It's not been a good performance, but I think at least partially it is caused by Fritz being absolutely excellent as well. 6 winners in the whole match from Menšík. Just one of them, one on serve, one forehand one forehand ground stroke winner, and 15 unforced errors from that wing. That kind of tells you all. And many of these were like sitters or mid court forehands too. So. And that's it. 6-1, 6-2, 6-love, Taylor Fritz. Barely dropping games in New York so far. He's had 3 matches, 13 games lost, which is excellent for him, especially compared to his most recent stump performances. Yeah, Menšík a bit overwhelmed by the occasion, 100%. And at the same time, you really have to praise Fritz, and he is really clinical in New York so far, which kind of makes you think that he should be reaching the quarterfinals, right? And then we'll see how he deals with Novak, because he probably doesn't, right? But yeah, playing against Stricker now, I think he's gonna have a huge advantage fitness wise. Probably enough to win. Stricker theoretically has the potential to be winning matches like this. Obviously, he has beaten Tsitsipas, but having played 6 times in New York already, and also 3-2 against Tsitsipas, 3-2 against Bonzi, I don't know if you can do it. I really don't know. And yeah, that's why I think the Djokovic Fritz quarterfinal is looking a lot more likely right now. And that it even did before the start of the event, and I actually picked it to happen though. No, you know what? I think I'm actually gonna quit for now. That's mostly because I have this. As I said, I have this mouth ulcer, and yeah, it just makes me very uncomfortable. I don't know if speaking actually impacts it, but it hasn't been all that pleasant, frankly. So I'm a bit glad that this match is over quickly, although I would have wanted to see a better fight. Yeah, they are absolutely horrible. I already have this gel, but yeah, it hasn't been working that well so far. I hope that when I go to sleep, I'm gonna put it on, and then when I wake up, it's gonna be much better. But yeah, they're always in like the most uncomfortable spot in your mouth, and this one is on my lip. I'm not gonna show it to you because I think that's a step too much. But ooh, that's interesting. No, I've actually used this before, and it was working. So I am hoping that by the morning it's gonna be better. Yeah, mouth ulcer. If you don't know what it is, I think Google will help you. But if you don't know what it is, you're also a lucky man, because it's happening to me yeah, just every once in a while. I don't know, probably not for like 2 years or something, but it does happen. In Polish, we say afty, but I don't think it's a word in English, at least not that I know of. Yeah, anyway, that's gonna be it from me for today then. Fritz against Stricker. Fritz, very good chance. He's gonna be so much fresher. And yeah, definitely great performance from him, and just a tough learning experience for Menšík, but it is what it is. And he will come back stronger, and it was still a phenomenal Grand Slam debut, right? And qualifying and making round 3, awesome stuff, and playing Fritz on his birthday, although the match could have been a bit more competitive. Yeah, thank you guys, and I'll see you guys on some other show. I think I'm gonna be on the first serve, but not tomorrow, but maybe on Monday, and maybe we're gonna see each other on some commentary stream or something in the meantime either as well. Yeah, see you guys.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.